Okay, everyone. My name is Victoria Saucedo. I am the current Chief Financial Officer and Treasurer for the Judy Nicholson Foundation. And tonight, this is our Young Voices on Kidney Cancer panel that we are hosting for the month of March. We are excited to welcome everyone tonight to our panel. And we'd especially like to extend a thank you to our two sponsors for tonight, which is Merck Pharmaceuticals and Exelixis. They provide a lot of support for our foundation that allows us to host educational programs like this panel tonight. For our next question, I'd like to hear from Sid and Janelle. Many young patients are juggling major life milestones alongside their treatment at the same time, like many of you have mentioned. Can y'all share a little bit how you balance the demands of treatment and recovery alongside other things you might be accomplishing and working on in life, such as education, balancing your work schedule, or just your general social lives? Sid, would you like to kick us off?
Yeah, sure. So I was working full time when I was diagnosed. And when it comes to that, I think that this is something that kind of gets lost on a lot of people. So I'm happy that you asked this question, because a lot of times when we're looking at kidney cancer, like I said, folks that are generally diagnosed with, I think the median age is 65, folks might be retired, you might be just working part-time, who knows? But usually when you're talking to somebody our age or young adults, those are my dogs in the background. So we'll just keep it going. Mom is leaving the house, so that's why they're barking. When we're talking about folks in our age range or age group, I was working full-time. I was very lucky that my employer was extremely flexible with me going to get scanned, with me going to meet with my doctors, with my surgery. I was also very lucky in the fact that my surgery recovery, even though my tumor was relatively large, my recovery was within maybe a week and a half or 2 weeks. And I was pretty much back to feeling normal physically. And a lot of the work I was doing, my background and professionally is in communications and social media. A lot of my work could be done remotely as well. But when you're looking at other things, such as like social life, I found my role kind of post-diagnosis being a little bit, not only just in the advocacy space, but also using humor to cope with things. Sometimes that makes people a little uncomfortable. So in my social life, a lot of people had to swallow that pill that I would joke around about things and that it was okay. That would sometimes make people uncomfortable. It makes a lot of my family uncomfortable, but my family would much rather just not talk about cancer. But it is what it is. I was diagnosed, so hey, it is what it is. But also something that I've noticed recently, speaking professionally, is when you're going out and looking for other jobs or maybe advancements or anything like that, does the topic of a diagnosis come up when you're going to interview somewhere? Because again, a lot of people our age are looking at maybe getting another job or advancing in their career or picking up another thing. So that's something that I found I've personally struggled with, because for better or worse, I have a digital footprint and I'm proud of my digital footprint, but it also has the indication that I was diagnosed with kidney cancer. And a lot of people, when you tell them that, even in my case, where I'm just on active surveillance, when you tell people that you were diagnosed with cancer, they just automatically assume that you're getting chemotherapy every 3 or 4 weeks and you can't do anything. They assume all these things. So that's something that I've personally struggled with, is that, hey, a year from now, if I want to go and send out my resume to somewhere, or if they're doing their due diligence, they'll look on my LinkedIn or they'll look on something else and say, oh, this is a big life event that happened for him. What about this? And we all know that when hiring, it's obviously illegal to do that, but you can only go so far when it comes to that type of conversation. So that's something that I personally struggled with, tried to unwrap a little bit post-diagnosis, I would say.
Great. Thank you for sharing that. Janelle?
Hey, so when I got diagnosed with recurrence, it was in the peak of COVID. It was August 2020. So I luckily was work from home to balance everything. I will say, if you need to rest when you need it, my main things were the itching and just fatigue overall. So rest when you need it. If they have things at your work to offer you, such as FMLA, take anything that you need and don't feel guilty about it. Like, you have to do what's best for you and your body. I luckily at the time had an employer. They were really flexible with me and they knew my situation. So I used to go to Lightbox therapy twice a week at my dermatologist to keep the itching at bay, as well as treatments once a month. I would just take that whole day off, use a sick day. Just for my own mental health, the infusion itself was maybe only an hour and a half that I was at the actual cancer center, but I just needed the day for myself to recover mentally and physically. I will say, to touch on what Sid talked about, if you go into looking for a new career, a lot of people at our age are trying to do that or advance themselves. I hid my diagnosis. I was not embarrassed by it, but it was very hard for me. And my way of coping with it is I kept it to myself, at least with work. 'Cause I didn't want to be looked at differently. I actually switched jobs, still in active cancer treatment. I only had a few months left of treatment, I think 3 months left. But when I went into my interviews, I was just open. I just said, "Hi, I have cancer. This is my background, what happened." And I was just open about my whole journey. And I found a place that accepted me and they're great with me. And they let me do my surveillance scans every 6 months. They understand, they're caring. So you will find your people.
Thank you for sharing that, Janelle.